Pre-colonial era, before 1800. Before colonial influence, education in the Malay world was centered on pondok and madrasah institution rooted in Islamic teachings. Learning focused on Quranic study, religious law, moral values, and Chawi literacy. Classes were informal, community-based, and usually held in mosques, homes, or small huts. There was no standardized curriculum, examination, or central authority governing education. The primary aim was to develop spiritually grounded individuals with strong moral character. This system laid the early foundation for value-based education in Malaysia, emphasizing faith, ethics, and balanced personal development that will later influence the national education philosophy. 1816 Establishment of Penang Free School. The establishment of Penang Free School in 1816 marked the introduction of formal Western-style education in Malaya. It was the first English medium school and introduced structured timetables, examination, and a standardized curriculum. Subjects such as science, mathematics, and geography become part of formal learning. Education began to serve administrative and economic purpose under British rule, preparing students for government employment. This shift signified the beginning of secular and institutionalized education, moving away from purely religious instruction. It also initiated the long-term influence of the English language in Malaysian education and sparked future discussion on national identity and language policy. Late 19th until 20th century vernacular school system. During British administration, separate vernacular schools were established for Malay, Chinese, and Tamil communities. Each system used its respective mother tongue as the medium of instruction and followed different curricular influence. Malay schools focused on basic literacy and rural livelihood skills. Chinese schools were influenced by developments in China, and Tamil schools often served plantation communities. While this preserved cultural identity and language, it also created ethnic divisions within the education system. The lack of a unified curriculum limited interaction among communities, shaping later education reforms aimed at fostering national unity through a common system.
The Barnes Report proposed the creation of a unified national school system to promote unity in pre-independence Malaya. It recommended replacing vernacular schools with national schools, using Malay and English as the main mediums of instruction. The goal was to reduce ethnic divisions and build a shared national identity through education. However, the proposal faced strong opposition, particularly from Chinese communities, who feared the loss of their language and cultural heritage. Although not fully implemented, the Barnes Report marked a critical turning point in education policy discussions and highlighted the complex relationship between language, identity, and nation building. Fenwu Report. The Fenwu Report was introduced in response to dissatisfaction with the Barnes Report, particularly among the Chinese community. It defended the importance of maintaining Chinese vernacular education while still supporting national integration. The report emphasized a more inclusive and multicultural approach, recognizing the role of mother tongue education in preserving cultural identity. It proposed improvements rather than elimination of vernacular schools. The milestone reflected the challenge of balancing unity and diversity within a plural society. The debates between the Barnes and Fenwu reports significantly shaped the formation of Malaysia's national education framework. The last one, 1956, Razak Report. The Razak Report formed the foundation of Malaysia's national education system ahead of independence. It introduced a common curriculum and standardized national examinations for all schools while recognizing Bahasa Melayu as the national language. Although vernacular schools were maintained, they were integrated into a unified national framework. The primary objective was to use education as a tool for nation building and social cohesion. By promoting a shared curriculum and common assessment system, the report aimed to reduce ethnic divisions and foster unity. Its recommendations laid the basis for post-independence education policies and legislation.
The Education Act 1961 implemented the key recommendation of the Razak Report and further strengthened the national education system. It centralized curriculum planning and standardized public examination across the country. The Act reinforced Bahasa Malaysia as the main medium of instruction in national schools, supporting national identity formation after independence. It also expanded access to education to ensure broader participation among citizens. Through stronger government control and coordination, the Act positioned education as a strategic instrument for national integration, economic development, and social mobility in a newly independent Malaysia. The 1979 Cabinet Committee report evaluated whether the national education system was meeting the country's development goals. It emphasized the mastery of basic skills known as 3M, reading, writing, and arithmetic as essential foundation for learning. The report also stressed moral education, discipline, and holistic student development. Its recommendation aimed to align education with economic modernization and workforce needs. By focusing on quality improvement and value formation, the reforms strengthened the role of schools in producing competent, ethical, and productive citizens, capable of contributing to national growth and stability. The Integrated Primary School Curriculum KBSR 1983 marked a shift from rote memorization to a more student-centered learning approach. It emphasized understanding, skill masteries, and continuous assessment rather than relying solely on final examinations. KBSR promote balanced development across intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and physical dimensions. Teachers were encouraged to use interactive and activity-based methods to enhance engagement. This reform operationalized the principle later formalized in the national education philosophy by fostering holistic development. It represented a significant modernization of classroom practice and strengthened efforts to produce well-rounded individuals.
For this slide, I will explain the Falsafah Pendidikan Kebangsaan or FPK and the Education Act 1996. The Falsafah Pendidikan Kebangsaan clearly articulate Malaysian national education philosophy, which is to develop individuals who are intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and physically balanced based on belief in God. It became the guiding principle for curriculum design, assessment, and the teacher training. The Education Act 1996 modernized the legal framework governing education. It ensured consistency with national aspiration and access across the different education levels. Together, this milestone strengthened the coherence of the system and aligned educational practice with long-term national development goals, ensuring continuity, quality, and philosophical clarity. Next, I will explain the Malaysia Education Blueprint, also known as PPPM. The Malaysia Education Blueprint outlines comprehensive reforms aimed at transforming the education system between 2013 and 2025. It introduced 11 strategic shifts focusing on access, quality, equity, unity, and efficiency. The blueprint emphasized higher-order thinking skill, STEM education, bilingual proficiency, and global benchmarking standard. It also aimed to close achievement gap between urban and rural schools by strengthening teacher quality, school leadership, and system accountability. The reform positioned education as a driver of national competitive while maintaining the core value of unity and holistic development. For this slide, I will discuss COVID-19 and digital transformation. The COVID-19 pandemic forced nationwide school closure, accelerating the adoption of online and digital learning platforms such as Delima. Teacher and student rapidly adapt to remote instruction, virtual classroom, and blended learning approach. While the shift ensure continuity of education, it also exposed digital inequality, including limited device access and the internet connectivity in some communities. Despite this challenge, the crisis catalyzed long-term digital transformation within the education system. It encouraged innovation, flexibility, and resilience, reshaping teaching methods and highlighting the importance of technology integration in future educational planning.
So the first artifact is the Pondok education system. This artifact type is historical education institution model. The Pondok system was an early form of Islamic education in Malaysia during the 19th and early 20th centuries. Students lived in small huts surrounding a mosque or surau and studied religious science such as fiqh, tawhid, and tafsir under a top group. Instruction was informal, centered on kitab, and emphasized memorization, discipline, and moral development. Pondok schools were especially prominent in Kedah, Kelantan, and Terengganu. Educationally, the Pondok system nurtured spiritual awareness, moral character, and community leadership. While it lacked standardized curriculum or certification, it played a crucial role in preserving Islamic scholarship and Malay identity during colonial rule. Many religious scholars or community leaders emerged from this system. The Pondok tradition aligns strongly with national education philosophy, which emphasizes balanced development based on belief in and obedience to God. Its focus on spiritual, moral growth reflects FPK's holistic vision, although modern policy integrates this element within structured national frame. So the second one is Madrasah Reform Movement. This artifact type is Reformist Religion School Model. The Madrasah system emerged in the early 20th century as a reform movement influenced by Middle Eastern Islamic modernism. Unlike traditional Pondok institution, Madrasah introduced structured timetables, classrooms, and graded levels. Institutions like Madrasah Al-Mashur in Penang reflected these reforms. Madrasah marked a tradition towards systematic and modern education within the Muslim community. They emphasized rational thinking, literacy, and engagement with global Islamic scholarship. This blend of religious and academic subjects laid groundwork for integrated curricula in the later national reform. The Madrasah model supports the Education Act 1961, which formalized structured school across Malaysia. Its integration of religious and academic knowledge resonate with FPK's aim to produce individuals who are intellectually, spiritually, emotionally, and physically balanced. Madrasah reform demonstrates early efforts to modernize education while preserving faith-based foundation.
Next is Malay Vernacular School Colonial Era. The artifact type is Malay Vernacular School Model. Malay Vernacular School was established by the British colonial administration in rural areas during the late 19th and 20th century. This school used Malay as the medium instruction and focused on basically literacy, arithmetic, and agricultural skill. Education was limited to primary level and aimed primarily at producing cook and village administration rather than high-level professional. While access to basic education improved, the system reinforced social stratification by limiting upward mobility only for Malays. Nevertheless, it strengthened literacy rates and promoted the use of the Malay language in formal instruction. The Razak 1956 later sought to unify various vernacular systems under a national framework to promote unity. FOM. It's called Federation of Malay 1956. The development of Malay medium instruction contributes directly to Bahasa Melayu becoming the national language. This evolution aligned with FPK, emphasized on national integration and equitable access to education across ethnic groups. MOE 1988. Next is Chinese Vernacular School. It's a colonial era, still on the colonial era. Artifact type is community-based vernacular school. As we know, Chinese Vernacular School was established by the Chinese community in Malay in the late 19th century. Chinese school was founded and managed by the local association. The school used Mandarin, a Chinese dialect, as the medium of instruction and follow curricular influence by China. They emphasize cultural preservation, Confucian value, and academic achievement. The school maintains strong culture, identity, and community relation. However, differing curricular and language medium contribute to education fragmentation under colonial rule. So they contribute to education fragment under the colonial rule. The Education Ordinance 1952 and the later Razak Report attempt the standardized curricula while allowing mother tongue instruction. The Government of Malay 1952 and 1956. Today, National Type School SJCK remain part of Malaysian system. This reflects FPK, principle of unity in diversity, balancing national cohesion with cultural heritage. MOE 1988.
English Mission School. Artifact type Missionary English School. English Mission School were established by Christian missionaries in urban center during the 19th century. Institutions such as Saint Xavier Institution and Anglo-Chinese School provided English medium education and followed British curricula. This school emphasized academic excellence, discipline, and moral direction rooted in Christian values. Mission School protected many leaders, professionals, and civil servants who later shaped Malaysia's political and economic landscape. English proficiency provided access to higher education and global opportunities. However, access was initially limited to urban population. Following independence, the national education system gradually transitioned to Bahasa Melayu as the primary medium under the Razak Report and Education Act 1961. Nonetheless, Mission School remain influential national school today. They emphasis on character formation and intellectual rigor aligned with FPK holistic operation. The integration of this school into the national system reflects Malaysia's effort to unify diversity educational tradition under shared national goals. MOE 1988, Federation of Malaya 1956. Tamil Vernacular Schools. Artifact type State-based Vernacular School. Tamil Vernacular School were established primarily on rubber states during British rule to educate children of Indian rebels. Instruction was conducted in Tamil and often funded minimally by state owners. Facilities were limited and curriculum focused mainly on basic literacy and numeracy. Despite limited resources, this school preserved Tamil language and culture among the Indian community. They provided essential access to primary education for marginalized groups. True progression to secondary education was rare. Post-independence reforms, particularly under the Education Act 1961, integrated Tamil school into the national system as Sekolah Jenis Kebangsaan Tamil (SJKT). This inclusion reflects FPK commitment to equal educational opportunities and national unity while respecting linguistic diversity. MOE 1988.
So this is my virtual museum, which is Barnes Report 1951. My artifact type is Colonial Education Policy Report. Barnes Report 1951 was commissioned by the British colonial government to review Malaya's fragmented education system. It proposed the creation of a national school system using Malay and English as the main mediums of instruction, while gradually phasing out Chinese and Tamil vernacular schools. Barnes 1951. The aim was to promote unity among diverse ethnic communities through a common curriculum and language policy. The report was significant because it marked the first serious attempt to create a unified national education framework. However, it faced strong opposition from Chinese and Indian communities who fear loss and cultural identity. This resistance eventually led to the Fan Report 1951, which is I going to present in the next slide, which defended Chinese education rights. The debate surrounding the Barnes Report influenced the Razak Report 1956, which adopted a more inclusive compromise Federation of Malaya 1956. Its legacy reflects FPK's later emphasis on national unity while respecting diversity. MOE 1988. The report represents a turning point from segregated colonial education toward national integration. So this is the second virtual museum, which is Fenwu Report 1951. My artifact type is Education Policy Review Document. The Fenwu Report 1951 was prepared in response to the Barnes Report, conducted by Dr. William P. Fan and Dr. Wu Teh Yao. The committee examined Chinese education in Malaya and defended the continuation of Chinese vernacular schools. Fan and Wu 1951. It recommended improving curriculum standards while maintaining mother tongue instruction. This report was significant because it recognized the importance of cultural and linguistic identity within education. It challenged assimilationist policies and emphasized multiculturalism as a strength rather than a weakness. The report contributed to shaping more balanced education reforms. Its influence can be seen in the Razak Report 1956, which allowed vernacular schools to continue under a standardized national curriculum. Federation of Malaya 1956. The compromise aligns with FPK's principle of unity in diversity and equitable access to education for all communities. MOE 1988.
Next, Raman Talib Report. Artifact type, Post-Independence Education Review Report. The Raman Talib Report in 1960 reviewed the implementation of Razak Report after independence. It strengthened the role of Bahasa Melayu as the main medium of instruction and recommended automatic promotion in primary school, pre-primary education, and standardized public examination. These recommendations were later incorporated into the Education Act 1961. This report significantly expanded access to education and reinforced national identity through language policy. It marked a decisive step toward building a cohesive national education system in early years of Malaysia independence. The Raman Talib reform aligned closely with national education philosophy emphasized on unity, accessibility, and balanced development. By promoting free and structured education for all citizens, the report strengthened educational equity and laid foundation for Malaysia's modern schooling system, Government of Malaysia 1961. Next, Malaysia Education Blueprint 2013 to 2025. Artifact type, National Education Transformation Blueprint. The Malaysia Education Blueprint 2013 to 2025 was introduced by the Ministry of Education to transform the national education system in response to global challenge. The blueprint outlines 11 strategic shifts focusing on access, quality, equity, unity, and efficiency. It emphasized higher order thinking skill, bilingual proficiency, STEM education, and teacher professional development. This blueprint is significant because it reflects Malaysia's transition into 21st century education. It moves beyond basic literacy toward critical thinking, innovation, and global competitiveness. The reform also integrates digital learning and inclusive education practice. The blueprint operationalized the aspiration of the National Education Philosophy 1988 by promoting holistic student development, intellectual, spiritual, emotional, and physical. It ensures continuity between historical education reforms, Razak, Raman Talib, and modern transformation goals. As such, it represents the most comprehensive contemporary expression of Malaysia National Education Vision, MOE 1988, MOE 2013.
Before this project, I thought Malaysian education was highly structured and exam-focused. I believe students experience strong pressure to succeed academically, especially in national exams. I also assumed the system was centralized and teacher-centered, with less emphasis on creativity, critical thinking, and the deeper cultural influences shaping the curriculum.
Before this project, I thought Malaysian education was mainly focused on exams and academic achievement. I knew the system was structured and followed a national curriculum. I was also aware that Malaysia has different types of schools, such as national and vernacular schools, because of its multicultural society.
Through the timeline, I realized that Malaysian curriculum has continuously evolved to meet the changing needs of society and the global economy. Each reform was not a sudden change, but a response to new expectations, such as developing critical thinking, technological skills, and lifelong learning. At the same time, I gained a clearer understanding of the national philosophy of education, which emphasized holistic development. This made me realize that this curriculum change are not only about improving academic outcomes, but also about nurturing balanced individuals in terms of intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and physical aspect. Therefore, education is a dynamic system that must constantly adapt while remaining guided by its core philosophy.
Through the group reflection, I gained a deeper understanding that Malaysia's education system is not only about academic achievement, but also about promoting unity in a multicultural society. I realized that historical policies and diverse school systems shape current challenges, making educational reform complex yet essential for national development. I also learned that education policies in Malaysia, such as those introduced after independence, were shaped by historical, political, and social factors. This helped me see that challenges in the system, like language issues, equality of access, and quality differences between urban and rural schools, are complex and interconnected.
One of the continuity that impact me the most is keeping the teacher as a guide. In the education Malaysian system, teachers serve as a guide who shape students' character, critical thinking, and lifelong learning skills. They support the goals of the Malaysia Education Blueprint by nurturing holistic development, fostering unity, and preparing learners to contribute responsibly to society and national progress.
The continuity that impact us most is the examination system. Even with modern teaching methods, exams still play an important major role in assessing our performance. This continuity reminds us that academic discipline and constant effort are still important. So overall, we feel that the balance between new learning style and traditional assessment has shaped us into more adaptable and responsible learner. However, despite technological advancement, the core aim of holistic development remain constant. This continuity demonstrates that while tools involve education purpose stay grounded in national philosophy. As a future teacher, I must embrace technology responsibility while meaningly strong ethical guardian in my classroom. Thank you.
For my reflection, this collaborative project also strengthened my reflective and teamwork skill. It showed me that education is a shared responsibility, and as a future educator, I must continue learning and adapting to support the nation's educational vision.
This project made me realize that a teacher's role is not only to deliver knowledge, but also to nurture holistic individuals in line with the national philosophy of education. I need to plan lessons that develop students' values, thinking skills, and character.
Shaping me as a future teacher. I am now more aware that understanding the story of Malaysian education helps me appreciate the purpose of the curriculum. As a future teacher, I should implement it meaningfully and create an inclusive classroom that reflects unity in diversity.